everyone, my name is Alissa and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be making a tutorial on how to make HD eyes in my own personal style. Please be aware that while I say stuff, this is not the only way to make HD eyes. There are so many other tutorials out there that are amazing and I've personally watched over the years. This is just how I do them, so please don't take this as I'm saying this is the only way to do it. The program we'll be using today is Medibang Paint Pro, which is free on Mac and PC. The reason I use Medibang is because it has certain tools that I'm not sure that other softwares have. I use Clip Studio Paint for my normal art, but Medibang is the way to go with Minecraft skins, for sure. So how I make my eyes is I go by the personality of the character I am creating. Everything has to have character. In anime, the eyes are the biggest part of a character. How they portray the eyes is technically how you're supposed to be able to tell their personality. Depending on the type of character you're creating, the eyes are some of the biggest things that pop out, especially on Minecraft skins. This is going to tell the story. They don't have mouths. Their eyes are telling everything. So if you have a character that has more big open eyes, you're going to want to add lots of eyelashes if it's a girl. Make sure that they look very girly. So the biggest part about a character, especially in Minecraft, is their eyes. They don't have mouths, so their eyes are going to tell the entire story for them. It's going to tell you almost everything about the character. And that is something that everyone needs to know when they're making Minecraft skins. If you have something that's completely bland and they all look the same, you're not adding any character at all. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's not going to work out for you with the character styles. Depending on what kind of character you have, whether it's a bright bubbly character, you're gonna want to add more eyelashes, make the eyes bigger, brighter. If it's a character that kind of hates their life, make their eyes a little more downturned, make them a little more Don't put as much detail into them, they really don't care. It all really just depends on how you style your characters. It's all to personal preference. Okay, here is a little template of my eye style progress. So, if you look at the left, we have very old. It's very, very grainy. I made this in 2048 pixels. Sometimes it's one of my first times making eyes. It's awful. The second one, I used a template from a creator named Bin of Trash, and they were good, but they weren't great. The third one is my personal eye style. It's the first eye style I ever made, so it's a little rusty, but it's something I like. Here are some more examples of eyes I've made. I do that a lot. It's like one of my favorite things to do at this point. Eyes are the only thing I'm good at. Here's one I recently made for another character of mine for my series, and I made sure to kind of capture the cat eye look, because she's not really a nice person. But anyways, yeah. This one is my old traditional eye style, which is the first one we're going to be going over today. Yeah, this was made a couple of years ago, so please, anything you see here, disregard. You don't need this. This is not a good example. Do not look, yeah, no, even past me hates it. This one is one of the most recent ones I made for a friend of mine for their skin. I really like how it turned out. I tried to make it, androgynous. Here's another one for my character, and I'm actually using the eyes from the eye pack I sell on Gumroad, which I just resized and kind of added details. Here's the pack. I will be kind of teaching you how to make the ones that I'm circling. I won't really go into details about the guys, because I'm not good at making guy eyes. I will tell you that now. The first one we're doing today is we're going to be doing the traditional Minecraft eye style with this. But for the canvas size, we're going to be using 4096, and the reason we're doing that, well, 2048 is very good, and if you're adding HD clothes to your character, make sure you keep it in 248, and then add to 4096 later, but it just adds a lot more details, and it's less grainy. That's why I do that, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, does it really matter? It doesn't. You're going to go and make a new layer and add in the eye color. I'm having a really hard time with that. Same with the normal pupil color. You're gonna wanna, not the pupil, the whites of the eyes. Make sure you put Protect Alpha on both of them, so you don't color outside the lines. We're gonna click the gradient tool and make a nice gradient from top to bottom to kind of figure out what color we want it, because we're gonna add details on top of that later. Same thing with the whites of the eyes. I try not to make them too dark, Next thing we're gonna new layer, and we're gonna add a circle, and we're gonna make it a very dark color, very thin brush. And we're gonna add that kind of on the eye. We want to make it big and make it almost the whole length of the eye. But I'm just going to use an eraser, kind of erase the edges. Did not mean to do that. Make it a little thicker to fit the whole eye. Copy it, paste it, put it on the other eye, and then use Control E to merge all the layers together. So that's fine. Put it on multiply, lower the opacity a bit, and then we're gonna make a new layer. Why am I going so fast? I forgot to say, make sure you put both layers on clipping as well, or else it will not show up. Once you add the add layer, you want to make it a little lighter. I made it a little too dark here. You're gonna want to definitely make it lighter and maybe a little less vibrant depending on the character's eyes. Again, the bubbly they are, you're gonna want to make them have brighter eyes. I made the top a little darker to blend in with the top of it because I didn't like how that looked. It was too bland for me. Fixed up the eyes for the add, added another add layer, and I added some cute little highlights on the side. It's a little personal touch of mine. I decided to add some little stars, maybe a heart too on the sides. And again, this is just all up to personal preference. You can add whatever you'd like. This is just kind of to give the character a little more glitz. I added another add layer and then put a circle at the bottom, kind of just a traditional anime thing that I see a lot of people do. Added that, lowered the opacity a lot, because I'm not sure how it's supposed to turn out there. The next thing I do is I take a blue color and I put it on the top, and that's kind of the reflection of the eye. You're going to want to make it a very bright but very light blue. And depending on the color of the eye, you're going to want to change that shade to make it match. So like if you're using brown eyes, use more of a purple shade and it will contrast better with it. I'm now just adding some highlights here, and I'm adding some more on the bottom just to make her a little brighter. And I'm going to take another layer, copy that layer, I'm taking it and I'm changing it to a different color, and then I am adding the Gaussian blur. I'm going to put it under and then add layer, and it just makes the eyes look a lot bigger. I decided to go through the layers and darken things up a bit to make them a little more noticeable. See how it kind of blends together? It's honestly just, it's pretty simple. I'm not good at explaining things, guys. I just want you to know that I am not a tutorial person. Now I'm just going and I'm changing up the sides of the eye because I didn't like how light they were. This is a skin I made a couple years ago, so it's not my best work. But ta-da! It's done. It was pretty simple for that one. The other one, can't say too much about. We're gonna get into the real stuff now. But yeah, if you followed this, you've completed something. Accomplishment! So for guys' eyes, what I'm just gonna do is I'm kind of gonna remove a lot of the stuff, just make them a little more blank, you know? We're not gonna need to remove all of the highlights, but remove a little bit of them most of the time, unless the character is meant to be that way. Guys' eyes aren't as bright in anime, so you kind of just want to make them a little more bland. Moving on to the next skin, this will be the one that is very detailed, and I'm going to show you something. I'm actually remaking this skin. You see, I'm adding all the layers back from my old one, and it's a disaster. I made this a long 2 years ago, and it's a train wreck. So we're going to redo this. First, we're going to add a mask on a separate layer from the skin, so you don't see the eyes anymore, because we're not going to need them. And you're going to want to change the image canvas size to 4096 because we do not do 2048 here. It's forbidden, it's too grainy, too pixelated. I'm going to lower the mask opacity a bit, and then I just went over, tracing over the eyes that I already had created to kind of keep the same shape of it down. I ended up changing it a little bit. I wanted to make the lines not too thick because they're not super thick usually, and the more thick I make them, I end up not liking it. So I just kind of have a rough sketch here of what I want to do. I add a bunch of eyelashes. You know, honestly, I'm not really sure how I make my eyes. I just kind of blink and they're done. It's kind of like a fever dream. I'm changing the eye up a little bit because I think it's a little too big. And then just copying and pasting that and putting on the other side, making sure it all fits. And then I started working on the eye whites. Now, the eye whites it's pretty simple. You just want to color within the lines. The shading is something I change every skin I do. it's different every single time. Just going through and kind of copying and pasting it and then putting it back into place so it's less work for me. I ended up making them too thick and too outside of the eye, so I did go back and I do change that at some point. I then use a little box brush to change and make the eyes because I want them to kind of stay a little bit blocky, but I ended up making them way too thin. I noticed that they were too far away from each other and they looked very weird, so I moved them closer to the inside of the head, because for Minecraft skins that just works better. Normal eyes you probably would want to do this, but for Minecraft eyes it's definitely a bonus. I then took an eraser brush and I kind of started working the sides and I realized that wasn't working. You morph the bottom of it into more of a half circle to give it character, and then I even put a little bit on the top of it too. That's not really necessary, it's just something I do to make the eye look a little bit more circular, because screw Minecraft. Who needs blocks when you have circles? And then taking a soft eraser at a very low opacity and going over it and just kind of making sure that it all blends out. You gotta be careful with this step because sometimes you erase too much and when you blink, half the eye's gone. And I've done that a lot. Here I am thinning out the sides of the eyes so they don't pop out just as much. It just looks tacky for me when they pop out too much. I then took the bottom eyelashes and moved them up a little bit because I thought the character's eyes were a little too big for my standards. I usually create characters with very small eyes because I like characters that are mean rather than bubbly bright characters who get on my nerves. The one thing I don't like about Medibang is you cannot move separate, like, multiple layers at once, so you have to put everything in a folder to move it all once you've done it, so it'll be easier on you. But it's not like other softwares. Other softwares let you do that. Medibang doesn't. Just going with a more reddish toned white and then removing my mistake. I'm kind of using that as the shadows. I'm lowering the brush and then I'm kind of putting it at the bottom too to give the eye a little more depth. Putting it around the eye as well. And it kind of just gives a little more life to the eye. I went in with white again to kind of brighten it up a bit. For the eyes, I then took another gradient and went and made sure I used more of a red tone at the top and an orange tone at the bottom. Adding a new clipping layer, I then went and I added our infamous circle to the eyes. Took my soft eraser brush and then went over it. Copied that, pasted that, put it there, bada bing bada boom, it's complete. It'll multiply, lower the opacity a bit, and we're done with that. I then took a very light orange and I took it and I put it at the bottom for our half circle. Changed the shade a bit because I wasn't a big fan of it. Put it on an add layer and then decided that I wasn't a big fan of that. Then I just added a bunch of highlights over it, make it very, very bright, because I wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm still not. I go through this and I change it a lot because I don't like it. Tried to make the eyes a little more red because yellow just doesn't work out with me a lot. Added more of my favorite highlights, and I even added a highlight on the side. It's something I do in my eye pack a lot, actually. You'll see that in almost every eye ad. I take another blue. I really like blues with browns, but purples work better. But I preferred a blue for this. I needed to make it brighter. Please tell me I made it brighter. I didn't. Okay. Rookie mistakes 101, people. Don't be like me. Fix it. Adding my highlights after getting references from my other skins, I was like, okay, cool. That's done. I then fixed a little bit of the eyes just to make it more my style. And erased a lot of the bottom lash because I don't like it to show up as much as I do the top lash. It's not as flattering to me. Then using the Protect Alpha on the eyelashes, I then used a soft red to go over it to have more dimensions to it. Added some weird highlights, which I just learned that I liked. Kind of went over the rest of the eye and kind of added some more darker layers to it. I'm not sure what I did here. I think I just made it more dimensions for it. And a lot of this is just trial and error. You're gonna need to go back and you're gonna need to fix a lot of stuff that you end up hating. And that's okay. I then took a dark burnt umber and then went and added that for her like eyeshadow and her eyeliner and stuff. Kind of changed up the colors because I didn't like it as much. And then went and I started adding her eyelid. Made it and copied it so it would all be symmetrical. Could have used a symmetry brush for this, but I didn't. I merged those together, lowered the opacity, and then started on the blush, which I ended up hating. And then added highlights with a watercolor brush to kind of make her look like she's wearing makeup. I took the old eyebrows and I decided I wanted to kind of remake those. I lowered the opacity, made a new layer over it, and decided I was just going to draw over them and make them better. And then I was like, well, what if I make them half eyebrows? Because that kind of sometimes it signifies a cute character's look. I just went and roughly sketched them out before cleaning them up with an eraser. After cleaning them up with an eraser, I went and added a few more details to make them look a little more realistic. And then I went over the drawing again with a lighter brown to kind of give the eyebrow more dimensions and look shaded. Nothing in this world can go without being shaded. Trust me. Ended up not liking the little highlights, so I removed the little highlights on my screen because they popped out too much at me. Just copied and pasted the layer, put it on the other side, and voila! With the eyebrows, you can kind of move them around if you'd like. I didn't know if I wanted to put them down to make her look a little more angry or higher, so I just kind of chose medium height. Her hair is probably going to cover most of it anyway. But you're done! That was the second part of the tutorial, which we knocked out of the ballpark. If at any point I spoke too fast, I'm sorry. I'm not a tutorial person. I hate making tutorials. I hate explaining things. So I am so sorry for that. If you didn't understand things, please feel free to ask me in my comments and I will make sure I answer them. You can also join my Discord server and I will make sure to answer them personally there as well. Because sometimes I don't understand my own tutorials. I stopped 5,000 times within this video. I was like, wait, what was I doing here? So just a quick overview with the guys. For the guys, obviously you don't want to add upper eyelashes. It makes them look too girly. You can add some bottom lashes if you want to make them look more androgynous and make them not be able to know what their gender is, because that's always fun. I love doing that. If you want to make them even a little more manlier, you can kind of remove a little bit of their outer eyeline just to make them look a little more eh. When making guys' eyelids, you want to make them a little bit higher. And other than that, that's the only really difference besides some of the highlights. But there you go, you got your 2 different types of eyes that you made. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please let me know. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!